Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I want to start with Dr. Altman, and I want to thank you for your candid testimony. You're the first witness I've ever seen on the Hill to declare I am a mass murderer, and that must not be an easy thing for you to say. Let me start with this. Does everyone who works in your field of OBGYN, the doctors and nurses, agree with you on this question?
No, there's a whole range of opinions.
Okay, let me ask you this. Your very powerful testimony, I think, depends on the emotional power of regret. Your testimony and your argument are suffused with regret, and you feel very strong regret about what you've done. It reminded me after the recent gun massacre in Las Vegas, when one of the singers there, Caleb Keeter, said he had regretted the position he'd been taking on the Second Amendment. And then I saw a number of people who expressed regret about having bought a gun that was then used in their house, either deliberately or accidentally, to kill someone in their house. Do you think that the existence of regret in those cases nullifies the underlying constitutional right that was being exercised by people who purchased guns?
I am not a constitutional lawyer. I don't know how to answer that.
Well, but you understand that your expression of regret and your declaration that you're a mass murderer, I think, is being used here at least to say that women should not have a constitutional right to choose, even in the case of rape, even in the case of incest, even in the case of the health of the mother being affected. And do you make exceptions for those things?
I don't think my regret has to do with the basic right of a fetus to live, of a baby to live.
No, it's about the woman's exercise of her right as determined by the Supreme Court. We got that. You regret participating in a medical procedure which has been constitutionally guaranteed by the Supreme Court for many decades, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, let's go to the question of rape. If I heard you right, but I just want to make sure we get it correct, you do not think that women should have a constitutional right to have an abortion if they've been raped and they become pregnant as a result?
I don't think this bill needs that exception because it's not the fault of the baby that their father raped their mother.
And I appreciate your intellectual honesty, because that follows totally from the position that's being advanced here, which is that it's just one life that counts. It's the fetus's life. So it would be the same for a woman who's impregnated by virtue of incest and rape. Would you agree with that?
Well, I think abortion has served to cover up multiple instances of not only incest and child abuse, but also sexual trafficking. And I think it's sort of off point. And I'm not
saying... Just to get to the point, you would agree that a woman should not have a right to choose an abortion even if she's the victim of rape and incest. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And also, as I read the bill, and I just want to make sure because you're testifying for it, you would agree that a woman should not have a right to choose an abortion pre-viability, which is the Supreme Court's constitutional standard, even if it would affect her health, not her life, because there's an exception for life, but her health. In other words, she's going to end up a paraplegic, but still she would be compelled to take the pregnancy to term under this legislation. And you agree that's the right decision because of the point you're making about the fundamental paramount interest of the fetus.
I'm not saying that the fetus has more of a right to life than the mother.
No, I'm not talking about life. I'm talking about health here. Say the woman's going to end up a paraplegic, which is often the case with a series of different illnesses. But the woman under this legislation would be compelled to go to term with it. And I just want to make sure that's your position. Is that what your testimony is?
My position is that the fetus's right to life does trump in this bill anything less than the life of the mother.
And I appreciate the candor of your testimony. I have so little time, forgive me. Mm-hmm. If we get a second round, I'll come back to you. Professor Forte, can you think of any other cases when Congress has knowingly passed unconstitutional legislation?
First of all, the bill says that the physician's conduct will be excused if it was necessary to save the life of the mother whose life was in danger.
Excuse me, that's not my question. That's not my question. I'm asking you, can you think of any other cases where Congress has knowingly passed unconstitutional legislation?
Yes, I can.
Can you just state them quickly, if you would?
When Congress freed the slaves in the District of Columbia despite Dred Scott.
It was not unconstitutional. They were compensated in the District of Columbia. Can you think of any others?
It was unconstitutional
any
by
others?
Dred Scott.
We'll-
They
we'll-
also passed.
We'll have to settle
they
that later,
also-
but I happen to
May
know
I
about
answer
that.
the question, Mr. Raskin?
Well, excuse me, I'm following Mr. Franks' example. I'm going to get to the point that I want. Can you think of any other examples?
Yes, I'll give you another one.
Please.
Congress passed a law voiding slavery in the territories under Lincoln after Dred Scott, intentionally going up against Dred Scott. And that's what Lincoln said. Lincoln said,
Okay,
Dred Scott,
we'll
we
deal with
need
that
to-
later. Ms. Smith, let me ask you.
Am I
Professor
allowed
Smith,
to
let me
finish
ask
the
you.
sentence?
Look, most Americans accept Roe versus Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey and think that this is fundamentally a woman's right to choose. As difficult as it is, as agonizing it is in many cases, it's got to be a woman's right to choose. But most people also want to lower the incidence of abortion. Now, we're at the lowest rate of abortion in America in several decades, I think, because of the availability of birth control. Is there an agenda we could actually come across party lines together on to create a common sense agenda to continue to lower the abortion rate and to make contraception available to American women and to promote education?
I would hope so,
The
Mr.
gentleman's time
Raskin.
has expired. The witness will be allowed to answer the question.
Thank you. Yes, I would hope so. Certainly, the increased availability of low-cost and most effective contraceptions under the Affordable Care Act has already had a significant impact and could continue to do so if it were not also under attack at this point. We could, as I said before, also protect women's health during pregnancy and provide infant child care as well to protect the life of children at those places. We can reduce the need for abortion by supporting women who are having abortions for economic circumstances, by giving them economic support, which many states do not do, and those are the states that have the highest rates of abortion. The states with the lowest rates of abortion provide those kinds of economic and medical supports to women and increased access to contraception. Thank you.
That concludes the